from Torrey Gymnasium here on the campus of Washington Community High School. It is a great girls basketball Mid-Illini matchup between the Morton Potters and the Washington Panthers. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's broadcast. I'm Jonathan Michael. Alongside me is John Camosa. And John, always such a great matchup between these two squads, especially on the girls' side. Morton has so much history. Washington does as well, but this year the team's roles, or place in the standings, I should say, are kind of flipped.
Yeah, you could say a little bit of a flip-flop. So used to Morton kind of dominating the Mid-Illini. 7 losses this year, but still with 11 wins, sitting at 4-2 in the Mid-Illini Conference. And John, for Washington, ranked 7th in the state, 15-2 and 6-0 in the Mid-Illini. Those only 2 losses for Washington came to the hands of Normal Community.
Yeah, it's been a great season for both teams. We talked to head coach Kim Barth for Washington before this game, and she said, even though Morton really hasn't been having a down year, because the down year for them is still really good. They've played lots of good competition as well. But we'll get into our impact players here quickly before this game. Always stars on both sides of the ball, but we got to go with kind of the de facto studs for both these teams. Tatum Lamprecht for Morton and Claire McDougal, the Bradley signee, for Washington.
Yeah, 2 dominant seniors, Claire McDougal at 6 foot, heading to Bradley next season, and Tatum Lamprecht, just another really solid player, transferred over from East Peoria just a few years ago and really made an impact for Morton this season. So should be a great game between 2 star players, but John, not to mention there's a lot of other talent around those 2 players.
Certainly, and we'll get into it more later, but Washington, they start a couple freshmen, including Avery Tibbs and Becca McDougal, 2 freshmen. And Washington, again, they also have players that were possibly more role players going into this season, but have really emerged, like Addie Kimler and Carly Vaughn. Morton, they don't have Katie Krupa anymore, but they have Lamprecht, they have Addie Ungle, Isabella Hutchinson, Ellie Van Meenen. So both these rosters really run deep. It's really what you expect out of great Mid-Illini basketball teams on both the boys' side and the girls' side as well. So we are just over a minute away from tip-off, or rather when the clock hits 0, then we'll have the national anthem. But we'll send it to our sponsor for a quick break and come back with pre-game action, starting lineups, and live coverage of the Washington Panthers and the Morton Potters here on ClutchSportsIL.com and CI Proud.
There's a lot of talk about big corners, big dealers, big inventory, and big lots. At Bob Grimm Chevrolet Morton, we believe the biggest point is being missed: the buyer.
We never got any surprises. When they told us a price, that's what it was. That's why I kept coming back. We just always enjoyed the way they treated us. They truly do it the Bob Grimm way, which is they treat the customer like they want to be treated.
Visit GrimmChevy.com and drive away your new vehicle your way. That's the Bob Grimm way.
Welcome back to Torrey Gymnasium here in Washington. Both teams have finished their preparations for this game. A couple shoot-arounds and some layups. We're about to get going here between the 11-7 Morton Potters and the 15-2 Washington Panthers. National anthem is coming up here at Torrey Gymnasium. Good crowd here on hand on a Tuesday night, our first game after the State Farm Holiday Classic. Glad you're with us here on ClutchSportsIL.com. We'll take a quick break here for the national anthem. Come back with starting lineups and game action. Stay right here on Clutch Sports Media. A great rendition of our country's national anthem sung by a chorus of a couple Washington High School students here. And the band is playing. Fans are filing into their seats. It should be a great one here at Torrey Gymnasium. Again, Joko, going into this game, Washington at 6-0 in the Mid-Illini Conference. Morton is 4-2. They're kind of becoming closer to the midway point of the conference portion of play. Obviously, there's some non-con games sprinkled in there as well, but kind of right in the middle of Mid-Illini play. You got to start to figure some things out because sooner or later, before you know it, the playoffs are going to be here.
Yeah, they are, John. And for Washington, they know going into each night that they got that target on their back. State-ranked team, only 2 losses this year. They've been playing their best basketball, so Morton wants to come out and really give them a test tonight, try to come away with the win. And for Morton, this is really big momentum going forward in your season. They know that this is a game that they want to get at home, or I should say on the road. But for Washington, this would be a huge statement win at home.
Definitely it would be. Both teams have played really tough schedules. You look at Morton's record, 11-7. You see it there at the bottom of your screen. The last time that the Potters have lost 7 games or more in a season was all the way back in the 2009-2010 season. It's been a long time since they've had that number of losses, but they played a tough schedule. They had a loss against Rock Island, who's a good team this year. Metamora, another team they lost to, a good team as well. But right now, they're in desperate need of looking to reverse some momentum. They've lost 4 out of the last 5 against some pretty good teams. Number 5 in 4A, Normal Community. Number 9 in 3A, Geneseo. Peoria High, the number 2 team in 3A. And then Dunlap, who's receiving votes. And in Class 3A, all of those according to the latest AP poll. So Morton, obviously, tough schedule with a little bit of a younger roster, but they certainly have enough weapons that can figure it out and get things going for head coach Bob Becker.
Yeah, and I think with a coach like Bob Becker, what he's done with this program, even in a year where they might have, racked up a few losses, not that they're used to that, I think they still have that drive in them to try to make a statement tonight. And for Washington, like we said, John, they know this game is important. They know Morton's one of their rivals. They want to come out here and try to get this victory.
Both these teams had great seasons last year. Morton, they're no stranger to the playoffs, the reigning third-place team in the state in Class 3A. And, boy, they are used to that territory. Washington, on the other hand, this is their first time that they've been ranked for quite some time, for a longer portion of the season, in 5 years. Head coach Kim Barr says, we are ready for tip-off here in the circle. The starting lineups for both teams. For Washington, it will be Avery Tibbs, the freshman, along with Claire McDougal, sporting a changed number this year, number 3, and she loses the tip to Morton, along with her sister, Becca McDougal, number 5, a freshman for Washington, and then Emma Heidbreeder, 22 in white, and Carly Vaughn, number 23. For Morton, the Potters in red and gray, they roll with Julia Laufenberg, a sophomore, along with Tatum Lamprecht, number 12, 14, Addie Engel, and then Isabella Hutchinson, number 20, and 25, Ellie Van Meenet.
I think this is going to be big early in this first quarter. Whoever can kind of grab the tempo. Morton's going to want to come out here and get these first points on the board.
Washington, they certainly don't want to play from behind, although if they do get off to a bad start, all's not lost. In their game against Dunlap back on December 20th, they trailed 13-2 in the early going. The Eagles made their first 7 field goals, and Washington battled back and won that game by 17 points, 55-38. So this Washington team, really the epitome of never say die. They're forcing a long possession for Morton here in the early going. I expect Morton to be pretty deliberate with their possessions. And almost coming away with a steal there was Avery Tibbs. Active hands will give it back to Washington to deflect it off of a Potter. And a great defensive stand for the Panthers first time down the court.
And with good as a defense as Washington has, some of those more patient possessions for Morton, they're looking to get a good shot inside. Whereas Washington, we'll see what they do in this half-court set.
Here's Claire McDougal, now hands it off to Carly Vaughn. Drives in left and kicks it back out to Emma Heidbreeder. Now here's Vaughn, dials up the triple from the wing, no good, but Becca McDougal right there for the board. She goes up there on Engel and was denied. And we are still searching for our first bucket after both teams take their first possession. Here's Isabella Hutchison now, the junior for the Potters. Like a key contributor on their squad last year. Now here's Lamprecht driving, doubled on the baseline. Great fight on the corner, and Engel's three is no good. Now the other way comes Carly Vaughn. Nice pace this one in the early going. McDougal throws out an elbow and no call, and she drives in and finishes it off. Clara McDougal showing off that physicality early on in this one.
Great move there from McDougal. Gets her defender to fall, and then looks like she's going to take the pull-up jumper. Instead, finds that lane in for two.
Kind of yo-yoed back in and out. Decided to go in for the easy bucket. For the record, Joko, I don't know, we don't have instant replay, but I think that looked like a clean call. I didn't see an extended arm or an elbow, just good physical basketball being played as some more being played here on the other end. It looks like that's going to be Carly Vaughn for Washington picking up the foul.
And that's one thing for Morton. Coach Bob Becker said before the game, John, they want to be defensively strong and playing a team like Washington, and I think it's all going to come down to really clogging the paint down low. Both the McDougal sisters, they love to get inside.
Claire sitting at 6 foot. Her freshman sister Becca at 5'11". Tatum Lamprecht's three is no good, but how about the rebound there? Now it being called for the travel. Looks like that was Julia Laufenberg. So great effort there on the offensive glass. Doesn't pay off though, as it's tough to keep her balance, and now Washington comes the other way. Just under 5 minutes left to go in this one. Glad you're tuning in on Clutch Sports Media or CIProud.com. Only bucket so far, a layup from Washington's Claire McDougal, who has it now. Great cross-court pass, and now here is her sister Becca with the three, no good. And Engel reels it in for the Potters.
Good job of boxing out there from Morton, keeping the possession alive, but those are those little unforced errors you don't want early in this game.
And that was another key that Bob Becker was talking to us about before this one was turnovers. Got to take care of the basketball. As any great basketball team likely does. And that was their Achilles heel against the Peoria High Lions. They just couldn't hang on to the ball. Peoria High's full court defense really gave them fits. And Addie Kimler gets the layup to go for Washington. And look at the Panthers, they're hyped up. Just a small 4-0 lead here in the early going, but these Mid-Illini games always so close, especially between these two great programs. And at home, going up 4-0 over the Potters, early on, it's got to feel good.
Yeah, it does, and a good time out there from head coach Bob Becker. I mean, you don't want to fall far behind to Washington. They'll continue to make you pay, and a chance here out of this timeout to try to reset, go on the other end, get some points on the floor, and then really close out on defense. But, John, like we said, it's going to be a tall task tonight. You really got to try to clog that paint.
Washington has done a good job of that so far. Their size down low. A couple of subs check in for both teams, but it's Hutchison taking it up the court now for Morton. Haven't got a lot of shots off in the early going, but they've been patiently waiting for that good high percentage look. Potters have scored 38 points in back-to-back games. Both of those games were losses. First to Peoria High on January 3rd and then Dunlap most recently on January 6th. Here's a three ball from Abby Pollard off the bench, and there's the offensive glass again. Hutchison's shot is no good, and there's a foul down low. Nice effort again on the offensive rebounds for Morton. That foul goes on Addie Kimler. Second foul of this ball game. And nice feed down low to Laufenberg, and she got hacked there by Claire McDougal. That's one of the best plays in basketball, John, and because the defense so often forgets about whoever is inbounding the ball, and usually they can be wide open and slip to the basket just like Laufenberg just did.
Yeah, that's a great move right there. You inbound the ball, and then your awareness, able to corral the ball and then pick up the contact.
Laufenberg's first free throw is no good. As we saw in the JV game before this one, John, missed free throws can definitely hurt you. And Washington trailed 37-34 again in the JV game right before this. And one of their players was fouled as the clock expired while shooting a three-pointer. So, and 3 chances to make it from the line. Made the first, missed the second. And Morton walked away with the JV victory. Laufenberg's free throws, both of them are no good. So Morton still finding their balance in the early going. Now here's Kimmler with it down low, and it's picked off. Here's Hutchison now the other way. Now feeds it to Pollard. And Pollard's swinging around the perimeter. Now here's Laufenberg. Thought about a pass down low to Addie Engel. And it's a 50-50 ball won by Washington. Here on the fast break is Avery Tibbs, and her shot's no good. Kara McDougal, though, fights for the board and gets it. Now here's Hutchison the other way, and her layup is blocked. Becca McDougal.
It's a great move from McDougal. Able to get the block, and we've seen that all season long, John. Washington's defense inside, using that size to their advantage.
Washington has been a great defensive team so far this year. Boy, they will miss Claire McDougal, the Bradley signee, next year. She's been the heart and soul of this Panthers squad, but as Engel tried to get one to go down low, and Morton still has a lid on the basket. Going back to McDougal, though, she's done a nice job preparing her younger teammates, the freshmen like Avery Tibbs and her sister Becca, for continued success in the future. That was a huge thing that Washington head coach Kim Barth was talking to us about before this one.
Yeah, and with having 2 sisters on the court, their bond, growing up playing basketball together, not only that, but Claire McDougal, using her senior leadership to kind of mentor some of these freshmen, it really helps going forward, not only this season, but in the coming seasons.
3 ball from O'Brien was no good. And this one will go back, or rather it will stay with Washington. Head coach Kim Barth pled her case and was successful. Referee said, "Oh, you were right that time. I messed up." Now McDougal will inbound for the Panthers. 6 minutes in, and Morton still looking for their first basket. Team that's looking to find their stride offensively after a tough stretch with games against some really good competition and losses against 4 out of those 5. It'll stay with Washington here. But going back to those freshmen, John, lots of fresh faces in this Washington rotation. There's 4 freshmen, obviously Tibbs and McDougal, along with their other freshmen, Aisley Redsling-Schaefer and Mazzie O'Brien, who just shot a 3. She has the ball right now, working on Hutchison, and her turnaround jumper is no good. And Avery Tibbs, who Claire McDougal said, quote, she is the best shooter in the 309. That's some pretty high praise coming from one of the best high school players in the area herself.
Yeah, it certainly is. And, alongside her, Washington has so many other great players who can light up a box score from beyond the arc. Just a lot of talent up and down this roster, and right now they're showing that defensively.
Layup from Ellie Van Meenen was no good. So Morton still looking for that first bucket. Been a defensive struggle so far, but both teams got to give them kudos, both ends of the ball. Defense has been stout. Here's Carly Vaughn at the line for Washington. Foul going on Isabella Hutchinson. And the first one draws back iron. Subs coming in for both teams. Engel and Laufenberg in for Morton. And Addie Kimmler checks back in for Washington, along a couple others.
Very low-scoring game. First quarter's kind of flown by, and a couple opportunities on both sides, but mainly the defense has been the focal point.
Vaughn's free throw is good, so 5-zip is your score. 7 minutes into this one in Torrey Gymnasium. It's the Morton Potters and the Washington Panthers. Morton looking for a huge, big Mid-Illini win on the road. And their defense forces Morton to reset yet again. Down low, here's Engel, found the open space, and her layup is no good. Morton still without a basket. Panthers with the ball. Could hold for the last shot if they want to. Vaughn slipped and fell. Avery Tibbs tried her best to keep that one in bounds, but to no avail. So Morton will get one, potentially, possibly a couple more chances to score before the first quarter draws it to an end.
I think if you're Morton, you got 42 seconds here. Try to get a score quick. Force another turnover on defense. Cut into this game a little bit, but you know, taking that lid off the basket, you got to get some confidence seeing the ball go in the hoop.
In some recent games, John, Morton again, I was not trying to harp on their offensive struggles again. Still played some great basketball this year, but in some quarters in some recent games they've played, they've scored 7, 5, 6, 6, and 5. It's a three ball from Avery Tibbs, no good. Morton now with 15 seconds left to go, but they're only a couple seconds away from putting a goose egg to that number if they don't get a bucket here. Although, if you don't, you're only trailing by 5. Here's Hutchison driving the lane. Nice move around McDougal and gets it to go. Isabella Hutchison scores the only basket of the quarter for the Morton Potters. And good news, John, they're only down 3 in this great defensive battle here at Torrey Gymnasium.
And you would think with that first basket not coming until the closing seconds, this could be a lopsided game. That's not the case, though. Morton's defense able to hold strong, and we got a 3-point ball game.
It's going to be a tight one here in Torrey. Washington leads 5-2 after 8 minutes to play. We'll take a quick break for our sponsors and come back with the second quarter here on ClutchSportsIL.com and CIProud.com as well.
Start your day with a delicious handcrafted breakfast at Excellent Cafe. From appetizing avocado toast to a perfect pancake, Bloody Marys, and mimosas, our staff is here every morning to send you to work with a smile.
Kick off your career today at Royal Publishing.
Welcome back to Torrey Gymnasium. Washington leading Morton 5-2 early on after the first quarter. And Washington, what a season they've had, John. Again, ranked 7th in the state in Class 3A. Only 2 losses so far this season, both of them coming to Normal Community. And now was doing some research before this game. Morton has won 16 out of the last 17 matchups between these two schools. Which is kind of crazy to think about. Obviously, Washington having a lot of success. Morton as well, but Panthers could be a huge win for them today if they can hold on. And it'll be easier with buckets like that from Avery Tibbs. Gets the floater to go, and Washington's lead is back up to 5.
And we just mentioned her, such an impact she's had as a freshman, first year with the team. Right there, nice basket.
Morton no good on the other end. Now here comes McDougal, a forward who can run the floor really well, almost a point forward of sorts. Now here's Tibbs driving the lane, and that'll be a foul called there on Laufenberg. She draws her first and Morton's second as a team. As Lamprecht checks out for Morton, getting talked to by Bob Becker, their 24th year head coach. 3 ball in the corner from Tibbs is no good. McDougal gets the offensive board, turns around, and finds the bottom of the net. Plays like that certainly helped her get lots of D1 offers and obviously her eventual signing with Bradley just right down the road.
A quick 4-0 run for Washington, really turning it on in the second quarter out of the gate.
Almost already eclipsed their mark from the first quarter as Vaughn had it open 3, decides what a play there is. Tibbs came streaking down the key, and an easy bucket there, and Bob Becker wants a timeout. A 6-0 run from the Washington Panthers to start the second quarter, and they are firing. What a last play that they had on that layup there from Tibbs.
Yeah, great look. Able to find Tibbs in the lane for a nice basket, and just like that, John, Washington in full control.
Washington leading 11-2 here. What a start from both teams. And John, this is our first game between Morton and Washington in a while. And you know, here at Clutch Sports Media, we're used to seeing some familiar faces over the years. 2 of those faces, Katie Krupa and George Duncan, again, both go down to play college ball, as is Claire McDougal and Tatum Lampert as well. Katie Krupa over at Harvard now, with the Crimson averaging 4.9 points per game, shooting 49% from the field. So she's been a key bench contributor for Harvard this year. And then Georgia Duncan, who alumnus here of Washington High School, an alumna rather. She's averaging 6.3 points per game and is a regular starter for McKendree down in Lebanon, Illinois. So both players only in their freshman years already contributing at the college level.
Yeah, they had so much success in high school, able to take that to college now, and you can see they've really kind of fit into their craft here on the collegiate level.
Nice pass down low to Van Meeden. Her layup was no good. And there's another turnover, and Bob Becker's face is in his hands. Didn't want that one to transpire the way that it did. Another missed chance there for Morton. They've got lots of looks down low. They just haven't really gotten them to go.
Washington's, their offense has really turned it up here in the second quarter. They're looking to add some more points. It's going to be big for Morton's defense to try to buckle down here.
Now McDougal one-on-one on Laufenberg. Now Washington with that 6-0 lead, or 6-0 run rather, they can afford to be picky and not really try and force anything offensively. They can run as much clock as they want to, find some good shots, and work the ball around like they're doing here. Tibbs, a triple is good. First 3 of the ball game, and it goes to the freshman Avery Tibbs, who gets to the gym at 5:30 a.m. to shoot with Claire McDougal almost every morning. You can see why it's paying off right there.
Yeah, and McDougal, not only a great scorer, but facilitator. Just a heads-up play there, able to find the open Tibbs. And like she said, one of the best shooter, in her opinion, in the 309. She shows why right there, knocks it down.
Well, if you haven't watched any Washington girls basketball this year, certainly keep an eye on Avery Tibbs. She'll be a name to watch for years to come. Already got 5 points of Washington's 14 so far. And one thing about Claire McDougal, John, for Washington is, really, one of the marks of a good player is not only is, you spend the offseason working on yourself to get better at your game, but you also make your teammates better as well. And McDougal, as well as the rest of Washington's seniors, for example, like, Kimler and Vaughn and a handful of others, they're really mentoring these underclassmen for Washington. And it's just something that's part of the culture here at Washington High School. And their boys basketball team, they have lots of underclassmen that have contributed throughout the years as well as this year as well.
Yeah, they've really built a culture here, just fundamentally sound programs, and same with Morton as well. And it's always fun when these two teams go at it. Right now, Washington proven to have the upper hand on their rival.
Panthers undefeated in the Mid-Illini Conference, 6-0, Morton 4-2. Although they trail 14-2, only 1 bucket so far. That's Isabella Hutchison. Got a layup to go at the end of the first quarter. Morton just on the perimeter looking to find a bucket. Hutchison's try is no good. And it looks like they might get another chance here on a foul. And it was called there on Avery Tibbs. That's her second. And Becca McDougal checks back in for Kimmler on Washington's side. Inbound there goes to Magda Lopko, and her shot was stuffed. Boy, Washington just really being the aggressors in the post defensively so far. Here's McDougal, gives it to her sister, it's up and good. And what a sequence for Washington. Defense leading to offense. And Claire McDougal now up to 6 points. And Washington leading by 14 here in the second quarter. They are cruising here in their home gym.
And not only, a great three-point shooting team, John, but they've really done it tonight in the interior, getting inside. Great ball movement, able to get those open shots. And Morton, they got to get something going quick here on offense. Could be a long game. Washington in full control.
Morton, for them, it's obviously a little bit of an odd year again, not playing without Katie Krupa and a couple other difference makers on that third place team from last year. They returned 10 players from last year. But obviously, no matter how you slice it, any coach will tell you, everybody's ready to step up, which certainly the players on Morton are. Again, they're having a really good season so far against a very tough schedule, perhaps for the toughest in the Mid-Illini. Probably one of the toughest in all of Central Illinois, for that matter. But for them, obviously, not having Katie Krupa, it's, got to feel a little bit different, not having that defined number one scorer and that number one leader. Obviously, Morton, they have a couple players like Lamprecht and Hutchison and Van Meeden, but again, it's just a little bit different without Katie Krupa.
Certainly is, and, even with Lamprecht tonight, when you throw your best play at her and Claire McDougal, we know how sound she is defensively. Got to get some other players involved as well and really kind of rotate the ball around.
Make a great point, John. A lot of people talk about McDougal's offense, but her defense is stellar as well. Tibbs, three in the corner is good. Got to go around the rim and in, and the Washington bench is loving it. Carly Vaughn, I think, hit the gritty. 19-2, and Morton can't respond. And the rebound there goes to Mazzy O'Brien.
And John, to your point, working out together at 5:30 every morning. How many times do you think they've passed to each other in the corner for three?
Certainly the McDougal to Tibbs connection is going to be strong. And in a way, it'll certainly be around next year, obviously, with Becca McDougal, who's making a name for herself as well. McDougal, that family, they have 5 girls. All of them play basketball. And apparently they have another one on the way that's going to be coming to play for Washington here pretty soon in the coming years. And Claire and Becca said that she could be one of the best ones in the entire family. So the McDougal name, we'll probably be talking about it for a long time here on Clutch Sports Media and around the area. But Washington's defense so far just really been the story so far in this one. Holding Morton to 2 points, that is outstanding.
Very impressive defensive showing. If you're Morton out of this timeout, John, you got to try to get something inside, maybe have some players, kind of push underneath to draw some contact, get to the line if you can. They got to find points somehow.
You certainly have to, and Bob Becker has already called 3 timeouts in the first half, trying to find something going on. Find a potential answer for this Washington defense. See it there, they have been communicating really well, and an interesting tidbit as drawing the foul there is Laufenberg. That's one way certainly to help get yourself out of a deficit, to get to the free throw line. But Claire McDougal said that they lost to Morton 3 times last year, and the reason for that was there was a lack of communication, a lack of teamwork, and they were playing individual basketball. But they say that when we play together and communicate, we're unstoppable, and really that all starts on the defensive end.
Yeah, it does, and you have to communicate in the game of basketball, and I think that's what Washington's done so well this season, and why they're state-ranked and undefeated in the Mid-Illini Conference. There's so many players who kind of know where they're at on the floor. And for Washington, you know, kind of taking that to heart last year, losing 3 times. It's something you get that chip on your shoulder. You want to come out and try to capture a big win. Right now, they have that big lead.
Laufenberg's free throw is good, so Morton gets to the 3rd point of the ball game. These two teams matched up in the postseason last year, the 3A. I believe it was the sectional. I forget if it was either the semifinal or the final, one of the two, but the game was played at LaSalle, Peru. We were there covering that game. Morton, but what a run they had last year. But obviously the good news for them is obviously they're still trying to work some things out. There's still lots of time left before the basketball postseason rolls around. Even though you can't say it is coming up quick, there is still enough time to work out some kinks and get some things going. But the good news about that is, you know, if you get hot at the right time, it doesn't matter what your record is, and it doesn't really matter how good you were last year or, you know, if you regressed at all or not. As Tibbs' 3 again is good, and Avery Tibbs is starting to heat up.
How about the court vision for McDougal? Just fires it over to Tibbs. Buries another 3.
McDougal's got to have a couple of assists. Again, no official stats on hand right now as Magda Lopko gets fouled for Morton. She'll head to the stripe with 1:38 left here in the second quarter, but McDougal just seems like she's just in a groove. She's just doing what she does best. She's rebounding, she's passing, she's scoring, doing everything so far for Washington. And again, like Katie Krupa for Morton last year, they're going to miss her a lot because they're not going to have that number 1 defined player next year.
Not, and you know, that's when you have to call to your underclassmen, have to have players step up. You know, Washington's shown that this year, especially with these freshmen that have really came and made an impact, knowing that Claire McDougal will depart next season. Same goes for Morton. You just got to find those role players and build her on them.
McDougal with a burst of speed goes past Laufenberg and gets the bucket and the foul. Claire McDougal, like a wolf stalking her prey. It's kind of just looking at her half court, and then bam, in a blink of an eye, she gets to the hoop, finishes the bucket, and heads to the line.
If you don't stay in front, she will go right past you using that speed. And how effective has she been inside tonight, John? Just another one off the glass, and Washington is rolling.
Dougal has 9 for the Panthers so far. Avery Tibbs, though, leading the way with 12. That combo has combined for 21 of Washington's 27 points. Morton tries to kick it back out there to Amelia Miller, and the ball was taken away. Now Washington on the break again. And an open look there from Alexa Moley is no good. But another high percentage look for Washington that, again, all starts with their defense, kind of giving Morton a taste of what they saw against Peoria High, that full court, maybe not full court press, but just really suffocating defense.
Yeah, that defense, it swarms you, and Washington just really putting the pressure on Morton, making it very difficult for the Potters to score.
Morton just 4 points here as we draw near to the half. The only field goal coming from Isabella Hutchison at the end of the first quarter, but there's one right there on cue for Morton. That's Amelia Miller, number 3, getting 1 to go from beyond the arc. I'll get Morton at least feeling a little bit better heading into the intermission. And Morton now with 15 on the clock. They'll likely hold for the last shot. We'll see what McDougal facilitates at the top of the key. Defended by Hutchison. And looks left, now right. 2 seconds left on the clock. And fadeaway 3 at the horn is no good. So McDougal tries to get one help herself. And it falls just short. But what a first half for the Washington Panthers here in their home gym. 27-7, they lead the Morton Potters, who have beat them 16 out of the last 17 times that these teams have met.
Yeah, it's quite the first half for Washington. Really in control right now. It's going to be a big adjustment here for Morton. How do they come out of this halftime locker room and try to get back into this game? But Washington, their foot's on the gas right now.
12 points for Avery Tibbs, 9 for Claire McDougal for Washington. But overall, what's been the most impressive, at least in your mind so far, from the first 16 minutes of play, Joko?
Yeah, I think just Washington, the way they're moving the basketball, Claire McDougal's court vision, able to find Avery Tibbs, the freshman, has been such a phenomenal player tonight, just able to bury those threes. And then, for Washington as well, I think it's their defense. For Morton, I think there's bright spots there. They've had some opportunities to score, just can't get some buckets to fall, trying to find a break in that defense. But I think it's going to really come up to Morton trying to clog that paint. Like we said, they have to try to cut off some of those takes that Washington's bringing inside and guard the perimeter a little bit better. But I think once those baskets start falling for Morton, they got to try to build that confidence and ride it.
Certainly, and I think, one of the biggest keys so far for Washington has been just overall their passing. They're getting lots of good looks, great court vision from all 5 players on the court. Morton just came away with a couple of steals, but Washington has been able to recover on those possessions and just get right back down the court and set up their defense and prevent many easy looks for the Morton Potters. And again, Morton, their passing lanes have been clogged all night long by McDougal and company. So it's been a great first half here from Torrey Gymnasium. Washington leading by 20 after the first half of play. We'll take a quick break for our sponsors here on Clutch Sports Media. We'll lay low for a couple minutes and come back with the second half in we'll say about 10 minutes or so here on ClutchSportsIL.com or CI Proud. Again, thanks for tuning in. I'm Jonathan Michael alongside John Camosa. Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll have the second half. Can Morton come back, make a game out of it? Tune in to find out here after the halftime break.
The Jansen Law Center, representing Illinois injury victims for over 40 years.
Involved in an automobile crash? Take out your cell phone, touch #4 and you reach the Jansen Law Center. You have the power and experience of the Jansen Law Center behind your claim.
Jay Jansen. One name says it all.
There's a lot of talk about big. Big corners, big dealers, big inventory, and big lots. At Bob Grimm Chevrolet Morton, we believe the biggest point is being missed: the buyer.
We never got any surprises. When they told us a price, that's what it was. That's why I kept coming back. We just always enjoyed the way they treated us. They truly do it the Bob Grimm way, which is they treat the customer like they want to be treated.
Visit GrimmChevy.com and drive away your new vehicle your way. That's the Bob Grimm way.
Sam Lehman of Morton, the #1 Ram truck dealer in the Midwest. Shop during our Big Finish sales event and save on brand new Rams in stock. Plus, take $10,000 off our brand new Ram Bighorns. And before the year end, earn tax credit on our brand new Jeep Hybrids. Looking for a bit of muscle? Try out our brand new Dodge Challenger or Charger. Limited supply and final production year. Hurry in before they're gone. Only at Sam Lehman of Morton.
Winter is here. When the temps drop, you count on your local weather authority. Know what's happening now.
You're going to want to bundle up outside this morning, folks. It is a cold one.
And what's on its way.
We're keeping an eye on a powerful winter storm that looks to bring ice and snow to central Illinois.
Central Illinois' weather experts keeping you safe. When winter weather is at its worst, you turn to Chris Molly and WMBD, your local winter weather authority.
Here at Strong Law, we're always watching out for you. Every time you lace up your shoes, every shot you take, every drive to the basket, every practice, every game you play, we are here, waiting if you need us. The same effort that you put into your craft, we put into ours. So keep taking your best shot, and Strong Law will always take the best shot for you.
Winter is here. When the temps drop, you count on your local weather authority. Know what's happening now.
You're going to want to bundle up outside this morning, folks. It is a cold one.
And what's on its way.
We're keeping an eye on a powerful winter storm that looks to bring ice and snow to central Illinois.
Central Illinois' weather experts keeping you safe. When winter weather is at its worst, you turn to Chris Molly and WMBD, your local winter weather authority.
The Jansen Law Center, representing Illinois injury victims for over 40 years.
Involved in an automobile crash? Take out your cell phone. Touch #4 and you reach the Jansen Law Center. You have the power and experience of the Jansen Law Center behind your claim.
J. Jansen. One name says it all.
Sam Lehman of Morton, the #1 Ram truck dealer in the Midwest. Shop during our Big Finish sales event and save on brand new Rams in stock. Plus, take $10,000 off our brand new Ram Bighorns. And before the year end, earn tax credit on our brand new Jeep hybrids. Looking for a bit of muscle? Try out our brand new Dodge Challenger or Charger. Limited supply and final production year. Hurry in before they're gone. Only at Sam Lehman of Morton.
Welcome back to Torrey Gymnasium here in Washington, Illinois, where the Washington Panthers lead the Morton Potters 27-7. And there, John, you get a look at the Bradley women's basketball team showing out to support their future teammate Claire McDougal here in her Washington Panthers, leading 27-7. And if I'm one of those Bradley players, I've got to be pretty impressed with what I'm seeing in the first half.
Yeah, they were pretty excited every time she had the ball in her hands and scored a basket, so they know what they're getting next year in a great player like Claire McDougal. So it's nice to see her future team come out and support.
McDougal, again, signed with Bradley. Had a couple looks from a few Division I and Division III schools. And her Panthers are leading by 20 in the early going. And, John, if you're Morton on the other end, what do you think that Bob Becker was talking about in that halftime locker room? And, you know, what do you got to do in the second half, first and foremost?
Yeah, I think you just got to be resilient. You got to chip away. This game is far from over if Morton can string some points together. It's one of those games you got to come out in the second half and almost play it like an entire fresh start, new game. You got to come out here and play some strong defense and just try to make some baskets here. I think if Morton can try to cut into this game, it's far from over, but Washington, they really haven't slowed down.
They really haven't. It was a slow start offensively for both teams. Washington led just 5-2 after the first quarter of play if you're just tuning in, but 22 points in that second quarter and outscored Morton at 22-5 in that period. And we are underway here in the third quarter here after a great halftime performance by the Washington High School band. A three ball from Amelia Miller is good. She got one to go in the first half, and now that's just how Morton wanted to start half number 2.
Yeah, Miller, her second three of the game, really shining right now for Morton. That's the spark they need.
Maybe she's the player that will step up for Morton and get things going for them. McDougal goes between the legs, shot no good, and now Morton comes the other way. Quick first possession that Morton had. Miller had a quick trigger on that three ball, much different than what we saw in the first half where Morton was much more deliberate with their possessions, and a lot of times it ended up in baskets that just fell off the rim or ended in a turnover. Hutchison, though, will slow it down for the Potters. 4-2 in the Mid-Illini Conference. And Washington sitting atop at 6-0 in the Mid-Illini slate of action. Taking a look at the Mid-Illini standings, it's led by Washington, 6-0 in the conference, and then Dunlap, they're 5-1. They're tied with Metamora for second, and then Morton 4-2. They're in fourth. Two games that have Canton at 2-4, and then at 1-5, it's Pekin and Limestone, and then East Peoria brings up the trailer. But really top-heavy conference so far this year for the Mid-Illini. I mean, Washington, Dunlap, Metamora, and Morton, all of those teams can make real deep runs in the playoffs.
Yeah, they can, and you know, even Morton, like we said, that resiliency coming out and quick start here to the third quarter. But Washington, you know, obviously the front runner, but they're going to expect some teams to give them a fight here as conference play continues throughout this month and next month.
Free throw is good there from Carly Vaughn. That'll get the lead back to 18. But, John, in the first half, we talked about the culture and the tradition that Washington has had in their girls basketball team and their athletics as a whole. But, you know, Morton has one as well. I mean, obviously 4 state titles within the last decade. They've won the Mid-Illini Conference a total overall 22 times. They've won regionals 19 times. They have 9 sectional titles and a whole bunch of state appearances, including last year where they finished third, and those 4 state championships as well. So that doesn't happen by accident. Certainly there's something that, you know, Bob Becker has built in Morton, and it's, you know, drawing lots of attention statewide. And you know, you got Dave Kindred covering the team, and, you know, by choice, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and, you know, kind of that benchmark that Morton set to be such a power each season. You certainly want to live up to that standard each year, and this year's team still a lot of potential right now, showing it on defense.
Now Morton's got some momentum. They're a charge drawn there by Magdalopko. Claire McDougall will get called for the offensive foul, and Morton is really happy right now. That's putting it lightly. They've come out of the gates in the second half pretty good, I'd say. Trailing by 16, but a couple good plays. Obviously, the charge being drawn. And a 3-ball there from Amelia Miller. I'll take a look at what Morton did at the State Farm Holiday Classic. Both these teams played in that tournament, John. I know you were there while I was over in Macomb, but you get a look at what they did. They beat Springfield, lost to Normal Community, who's responsible for Washington's only 2 losses this year, and then they beat Rochester in the 5th place bracket, and then lost to Geneseo to close things out. So overall, 6th place finish for the Morton Potters. They finished 3rd last year in the large school girls bracket. Washington, on the other end, down in Bloomington Normal, they lost in the championship game, obviously, to Normal Community, 47-32 after wins over Bloomington, Plainfield North, and Hyde Park, the last of which is receiving votes in Class 3A. It's a takeaway for Washington as Becca McDougall 1-on-2 the other end. Stops, pulls up, jumper is good. It's a pretty shot there from the freshman. That's her first bucket of the contest.
Nice mid-range shot there from McDougall. The other McDougall, her sister, Becca. And Morton still hanging around tough, but Washington, their scoring has really been solid tonight for the Panthers.
Morton's got to find the same sort of defense that Washington had in the first half if they want to claw back into this one, but certainly not out of this game yet. Get a couple 3 balls to drop, and, you know, as they say, Big Mo is one of the biggest things you can have in the game of basketball. Certainly it's starting to shift a little bit in Morton's direction right now. Inbound goes to Isabella Hutchison. Now gives it over to Abby Pollard. And back to Hutchison. She's got 4 tonight. Can't make that 6 on the tough runner. Just thought about it up there on the rim and didn't drop.
Good rebound there from Washington. Tibbs. Great first half for the Panthers. See if she can continue to spark them here in the second.
Tibbs has been a great rebounder as well for Washington, not just a scorer. McDougall drives baseline, turns around, nice pass down there to Mazzy O'Brien. There's that ball movement for Washington. They regained that 20-point lead that they had at the half. O'Brien's first bucket of the game. She is another freshman on this Washington squad. Drive here from Pollard with the left hand. It's up and good. There's the response for Morton, and that's what they needed. You knew that Washington was going to punch Morton. The question has been, will Morton punch back? Buckets like that certainly help.
They do, and Morton not going away. In a game like this, we'd expect that, a rival game. Both sides are always going to give it their best effort.
Hutchison lays it up underhand, no good. Physical play, and they still have it. 3 ball is good. Abby Pollard drains one from deep, and Morton starting to hit some luck from 3-point land. The lead now down to 15 for Washington. See what Washington does to respond. Now a 3 here from O'Brien, and she responds as well.
Another
20.
Great,
go ahead.
Yeah, another great passer from McDougall.
McDougall's got a handful of assists so far. And a 3 from number 21 on one end, followed by 3 from number 21 on the other end. Can it be a second? No. Pollard's triple is no good, and Tibbs snatches the rebound for the Panthers. Now here's McDougall. Nice pass through traffic with one hand. Now Becca McDougal with a three, and that one barely grazes the front iron. And it goes off of the foot of a Potter. It'll stay with Washington. Shots dropping in left and right here in the third quarter. Three balls from Pollard and O'Brien have gone down in the last minute. And if you're just tuning in, as three ball from O'Brien there is no good. And Morton will just let it go out of bounds. But Washington jumped out to a 14-2 lead after the first quarter of play, led by 20 at the half. Morton has started to wake up offensively. Not the Panthers and Avery Tibbs, Mazzy O'Brien, a couple big buckets to keep that lead at a comfortable spot, but only for now.
And still a lot of time. Morton, their offense, you could tell, really turned it up here in the second half. They've put together some baskets, but Washington still scoring when they need to.
John, one thing I've noticed is Tatum Lamprecht hasn't been on the floor for Morton in quite some time.
That's a key player for Morton, but Washington's defense, credit to them, they've done a really good job guarding her.
Really have. Lamprecht hasn't really done much in this one. Here's McDougal wide open along the baseline, and it's up and good. Washington back ahead by 20, so just when you think that Morton's starting to gain some ground, Claire McDougal strikes again.
Able to find that spacing and wide open out of the basket.
Comes away with a steal and nice pass over to Kimler, who is fouled. Wait the call to see which Potter it goes on. First glance, it looks like it was Ruby Brubaker, the freshman. But interestingly enough, John, again, going back to Lamprecht, I saw Bob Becker pulled her off the court in the early going. I was kind of talking to her as well. Trying to coach her up, as the first free throw from Kimler is no good, but you know, I won't say he looked angry at her, but certainly was maybe a little frustrated, a little unhappy. And obviously, hope that, maybe, physically wise that Lamprecht is okay, but interesting decision if she is physically okay to not put Lamprecht on the court. Maybe a test to see which of these Potters will step up and get them out of this 20-point hole that they are in. As Kimler misses the second free throw, but Washington gets it back. That's been the epitome of the ball game so far. Kimler's shot no good. McDougal tried to tip it back out, but it went out of bounds, and it will go back to Morton.
Chance here for Morton to try to cut into this deficit as we approach the end of the third quarter here pretty soon.
Morton's played well right before the quarters have ended. Gotten some good buckets to go, but they'll need at least one or two to get it below 20 heading into the fourth quarter. There'll be a foul called. Looks like that one will go on Ainsley Redling-Schaefer for Washington. Now 37.9 to go. Obviously, if there's a shot clock, Morton could go for a 2-for-1 here. Obviously, there is no shot clock. We're not playing in a special tournament or anything of that nature, but Mid-Illini girls basketball, always a fun treat. And what a treat this season has been for the Washington Panthers, ranked 7th in the state in Class 3A. Carly Vaughn comes with it now, and Washington will likely hold for the last shot, but Kimler just decides to go right back up with it, and why not? Addie Kimler, it's a high percentage look to go, and it's 39-17. Washington in the driver's seat big time. 2 seconds left on the clock. Here's Vandal. That one goes out of bounds, and I don't think Washington will get a shot off here, but going back to your point, John.
Yeah, just they've really asserted their dominance on the offensive side. as they don't take the shot there. Not enough time, but God, this fourth quarter, kind of Washington's game to control. Morton trying to chip away, did a good job, but ultimately Washington trading shot for shot.
If the Mighty Potters want to escape Torrey Gymnasium with a victory, they'll have to force some turnovers in the final frame as they trail 39-17 here on Clutch Sports Media and CIProud.com. I'll take a quick break for our sponsors. Couldn't do our broadcast tonight without them. And we'll come back with the fourth quarter here on ClutchSportsIL.com and CIProud.com as well.
Kick off your career today at Royal Publishing.
Start your day with a delicious handcrafted breakfast at Excellent Cafe. From appetizing avocado toast to a perfect pancake, Bloody Marys, and mimosas, our staff is here every morning to send you to work with a smile.
Welcome back to Torrey Gymnasium here in Washington, where the Panthers lead 39-17 over Morton. Panthers are looking good at staying undefeated in conference play so far this year. They just need to hold on for the next 8 minutes, but we'll see what Morton brings, rather. Washington will start the fourth quarter with the ball. They've been led by Avery Tibbs and Claire McDougal so far tonight.
They've been a really big key piece in this offense amongst other players. And once they started clicking on offense to start this game, they haven't slowed down.
Certainly, and when Washington is clicking, which has been most of the season, they've been really scary. You look at the margin of some of these victories they've had. They started off the year with a 27-point win against Springfield, followed up with a 45-point beatdown of Manual. They also beat Sacred Heart Griffin, State Farm Holiday Tournament participant, so they're always a good squad. Beat them by 22. They beat Normal West, a little bit of a bigger school, beat them by 28. And also big wins over Limestone, East Peoria, throttled them. They beat Dunlap by 17, and Dunlap is the second place team in the Mid-Illini Conference. So Washington is, as of right now, a clear front runner in this conference.
I think it really shows tonight. Just offensively and defensively, we don't really have a weakness on the court. That's why they're out to this great start this season.
The only team that's been able to expose their weakness has been Normal Community, but the good news for the Panthers is you won't see them in the playoffs because Normal Community plays in 4A, Washington in 3A, so the Lady Iron, the only team that's been able to take down the Panthers so far this season. As for Morton, unless they get something going, as McDougal with the steal, and how about the nifty behind the back? Claire McDougal goes deep into her bag of tricks, and he tries to find a hide breeder in the corner. Pass was deflected, but for Morton, obviously it's been a little bit of a tough stretch. Looks like unless something changes here in these final 6 minutes of play, they might be well on their way to losing 5 out of their last 6. Unprecedented for this Potters team again, but still lots of things to look forward to later in the year. You have, possibly a little bit easier schedule coming up. Won't be seeing as many games against good schools, so opportunities for them to reset before the playoffs. And we'll get a look at Morton's upcoming schedule coming up here at the next stoppage in play. As Pollard drives in, her shot's no good, and it's taken away. Great effort there from Morton. 3-ball from Miller. Hits just the backboard, and Hutchison's layup is no good. And Hutchison fighting for the jump ball and gets it. We'll stay here with the Potters, but we'll look at Morton's upcoming schedule, John. See, they'll face Canton coming up next. That'll be Saturday at 6:30. Then they'll play Mahomet Seymour, Galesburg, Peoria, Notre Dame, and Pekin. So 4 of those games are on the road, so it doesn't get a ton easier. but opportunities to pick up a statement win and an opportunity for yourselves to get better if you're the Morton Potters.
I think it's one game at a time. You got to put any loss behind you, kind of move on from there. Long season ahead of you. Still a chance for this Morton team to regroup and try to turn it on.
Hutchison's free throw is good. She's up to 5 points now on the night. And second one is no good, but again, the rebound is Brubaker. Hutchison thought about the three, tried to find Brubaker, and the pass is too far out in front of her. And they'll turn it over. Good pressure there on defense from Claire McDougall. It's going to be a fun-filled week of hoops here on Clutch Sports Media. Lots of broadcasts coming to you this week. Starting on Thursday, where we will be at the Lions Den at Peoria High. And there's a three ball there from Tibbs. She is up to 16 on the night.
And the steal.
No quit in this Washington team. They're not letting up at all. We'll be at the Lions Den, as we were saying, for Richwoods and Peoria High on Thursday night at 6:30. Should be a great game between Lions and the Knights. The Lions, one of the top teams in the state in Class 3. I believe they're ranked number 2, if I'm not mistaken. They're having quite the year. And then Friday, you don't know where we're going to be yet, but stay tuned. We may, nothing's official yet, so still in the process of deciding it. We may leave it up to our fans to decide where we're going to go on Friday night. So stay tuned to our social media, particularly our Twitter at Clutch Sports IL. Might have a fan poll to decide where we go on Friday night. Lots of good options, such as Dunlap and Metamora, and then Morton and Washington. Their boys teams play here at Torrey Gymnasium. And there's also some All-12 action as well that we're eyeing up. And then Saturday, some more girls basketball action with Washington and Metamora girls. So catch the Panthers later this week going up against their arch rivals, the Metamora Redbirds, on Clutch Sports Media. That'll be a great one that'll have major Mid-Illini standings implications. McDougall hits ground hard there for Washington, gets up with a smile on her face, so good to see. The Panthers can ill afford to lose her, and she and the rest of the Panthers will check out. A line change for Washington. As coming off the court, Becca McDougall, Azzy O'Brien, Avery Tibbs, Claire McDougall, and Carly Vaughn. Job well done for those five for Washington. And we're going to give the Panthers one of their biggest wins of the season so far. And the subs now in for the Panthers, getting some valuable playing time against a very good opponent.
Well, they are, and it's just quite the statement there from Washington. Typically a game you would see go back and forth, but getting some bench players to get some quality playing time, and just a really nice victory from Washington. Credit to Morton for battling, but this is a Panthers team that's really been clicking on all cylinders this year.
Certainly, and sometimes in these games, all the best you can do is battle, and Morton certainly did do that. Only scored 2 points in the first quarter, but got back, had some really nice plays in the third quarter. Obviously, right now in the fourth, haven't been able to do much. Washington has just been playing ball control at this point, leading by 26. And subs in for both teams. Some players I haven't seen a lot of today is Laufenberg. She gets fouled there by Libby Hart of Washington. Washington's 5 on the court right now. Again, Libby Hart, number 44. Georgia Williams, see her down there at the bottom left of your screen, number 24. Maddie, or rather, Ainsley Redling Schaefer in there along with Alana Wilson. And it looks like Mazzy O'Brien sitting there near half court for Washington. Morton's 5 on the court right now. It's Ruby Brubaker, Annalise Heppy, Anya Ruxlow, trying to get Other Potters in, Kerrigan, Vandal, and Julia Laufenberg on the court now for the Potters. As a foul will go on Brubaker. That'll be her second, and it will send Ainsley Redlingshafer to the line. One of 4 freshmen on this Panthers roster. And going forward, as far as what, not so much what this game means, but what the season means for Washington, even though you lose Claire McDougall and a couple other seniors like Carly Vaughn and Addie Kimler as well, the cupboard is still going to be stacked for Washington next year.
Yeah, I think there's enough underclassmen on this team making an impact. We saw that tonight. Your leading scorer in Avery Tibbs, just a freshman, so the years that she'll bring to the table, really making that impact here in her first year with the varsity team. So, Claire McDougall, all she can do is really offer her leadership, guidance. Players grow off of that and take it into next year, but they still have some unfinished business this season.
Certainly is. We'll take a look at Washington's upcoming schedule. See, they'll be playing Metamora again. We'll have that one right here on Clutch Sports Media, and then go against Normal University High. That should be a good game on January 16th, Martin Luther King Day, before following up with home games against Limestone, East Peoria, and then they travel to Richwoods at the end of the month. So certainly unfinished business for Washington. It looks like they will get their revenge on the Morton Potters, who have beaten them 16 out of the last 17 times that these teams have met. Dating back to, trying to do the math, I believe in the early 2010s, somewhere around there. Washington's had a lot of good squads in that time span, but Morton's just been pure domination. That's the kind of their that's their Twitter handle, I believe, Lady Potter Domination or something like that. And the nation is capitalized. They get the 3 to go there, so
I think they're kind of passing the crown down for Washington as far as just this season. Washington, like you said earlier, John, they've really kind of looked like a Morton Potters team as of a few years ago. They've just been great on all surfaces. They're offensive, defensively, and Morton, they still got a lot of talent on this team they could try to build with.
Libby Hart gets 1 to go for Washington, so even the bench players is getting some scoring here in the last minute of play. This could be the final possession of the game for Washington. And a floater there from Redlingshafer, no good. And look at the effort still from the Panthers. They're playing to the final buzzer, and they have played a full 32 minutes of good basketball here tonight. And they will stay undefeated in the Mid-Illini Conference and move to 7-0 overall and 16-2 on the season, as Hutchison's 3 is no good. The rebound goes off of a Panther, so we'll keep it right here.
Could see Morton end with the last possession here.
Let's see the Potters draw up here, and this game will come to a close. It's a 3 from Ruxlow, and it's good. So Anya Ruxlow gets in on the scoring action for Morton. So a couple good baskets there right at the end for the Morton Potters, but it will not be enough as they fall 48-25 to Washington. Head coach Kim Barth said that we're relentless on defense, and we don't put our heads down when things don't go our way for the Washington Panthers. Well, John, they were relentless on defense tonight, and they didn't have to put their heads down because almost everything went their way here at their home gym tonight.
Yeah, it certainly did. And Washington really kind of came out hot to start the game and never let up. And, this is a big win for Washington. Morton's going to have to try to rebound after this and just kind of learn from this game. It's a hard-fought game, but Washington comes away with the upper hand.
We'll take a quick break for our sponsors, making tonight's broadcast possible, and to wrap things up here on ClutchSportsIL.com. Washington wins at 48-25.
Winter's here. When the temps drop, you count on your local weather authority. Know what's happening now.
You're going to want to bundle up outside this morning, folks. It is a cold one.
And what's on its way.
We're keeping an eye on a powerful winter storm that looks to bring ice and snow to central Illinois.
Central Illinois' weather experts keeping you safe. When winter weather is at its worst, you turn to Chris Molly and WMBD, your local winter weather authority.
Thank all of our sponsors that make tonight's broadcast possible on CIProud.com and at ClutchSportsIL.com. Again, Washington, your winner over Morton, 48-25. And John, after that first quarter, I didn't think that we'd see a team score of 48. It was 5-2 Washington leading after the first 8 minutes, but everything just kind of started to go their way in quarter number 2. They outscored Morton 22-5, and I think that was really the biggest difference maker. That second quarter and their defense, it all started with Claire McDougall and just all-around hustle plays by Washington tonight.
Yeah, and just a lot of really good ball movement, too, which led to a big scoring attack for Washington. Claire McDougall able to find Avery Tibbs a couple times beyond the arc for 3, and then just continuous flow of getting inside and scoring unmanned. So it was really big for Washington to come out and, their rival Morton. This is a game that we don't typically see where it's more of a unmatched game, I should say, but Washington just came out and played their best basketball.
It certainly did. A 23-point victory over the Morton Potters, their first victory over them since the spring, or rather winter of 2021. It's been a long time coming for these Panthers. They can celebrate tonight. Still the queens of the Mid-Illini Conference. For Washington, they stay hot. They've won 7 out of their last 8. Morton now dropped 5 out of their last 6. Two teams going in opposite directions, but we'll certainly see both of them again on Clutch Sports Media this year. I want to give a great shout out to all of our hardworking crew coming out tonight to Washington. Our producer, Gavin Russell at the Sticks, working tonight's broadcast. Our camera operator, Brock Stoller, and Teddy Ball updating us on social media and Twitter. For my broadcast partner, John Camosa, I am Jonathan Michael saying so long from Washington. The Panthers, the hometown team, big winners tonight over the Morton Potters, 48-25. Have a good night. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you later this week on Clutch Sports Media. So long, folks.